Welcome to today's episode of Bolts of Wisdom that are building and defending the family of God. Our title for today's Bolts of Wisdom is Part 2 in the series, Imagine It. The title for today's Bolts is Part 2 in the series, Imagine It. What does it mean to imagine? We started this series yesterday and we'll just continue. What does it mean to imagine? The Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines imagine as the ability to form a mental image of something not present. To imagine is the ability to form a mental image of something which is not present. Hallelujah. And we'll go and pick it up from where we left off yesterday. It's got 1 Samuel chapter 17 from verse 23 in the Amplified Bible. As they talked, behold, Goliath, the champion, the Philistine of Gath, came forth from the Philistine ranks and spoke the same words as before. And David heard him. Or verse 24. And all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him terrified. Or verse 25. And Israel said, have you seen this man who has come out? Surely has come out to defy Israel. And the man who kills him, the king will enrich with great riches and will give him his daughter and make his father's house free from taxes and service in Israel. So we can see here that the children of Israel, the soil of Israel, they are afraid to go and fight Goliath. He would come out, he would defy the armies, say, one of you come and fight me. If you kill me, then the Philistines will become your slaves. If I kill the Israelites you sent for to fight me, then you Israelites become our slaves. Now, in the same context, the Israelites were afraid of Goliath. They're full of fear. They could not imagine that he was a giant of a man. None of them could imagine that they could defeat him. And they're telling David here that, hang on, this man here, whoever kills him, the king has said he will enrich that man. Whoever can imagine defeat Goliath and actually goes to kill Goliath, the king will give great riches and will give him his daughter. Wow, can you imagine? The king will give you his daughter. So his daughter is a princess. So if you marry the princess, you automatically become a prince as well. You become royalty. I mean, what a reward. You get riches and he make his father's house free from tax and service in Israel. Wow, what a reward. It will need somebody with great courage. It takes great courage to imagine the right things. It takes great courage to imagine victories. So here, what do we have? We have a situation whereby if only someone could be courageous enough to take on Goliath, if they could imagine they can defeat him, there will be riches for them. But see, none of those Israel soldiers had the courage to take on Goliath. They couldn't imagine defeating him. Let's go next verse. Verse 26. And David said to the men standing by him, what shall be done for the man who kills this Philistine and takes away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? Next verse, 27. And the men told him, thus shall it be done for the man who kills him. So they tell David what will happen. Next, verse 28. Now Eliab, his eldest brother, that is David's eldest brother, he was a soldier. He heard what he said to the men. That's what he heard what David said to the men. And Eliab's anger was kindled against David, and he said, why did you come here? With whom have you left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know your presumption and evilness of heart, for you came down that you might see the battle. Wow, can you see? Eliab is talking against David. All David has done is ask, what shall be given to the man who kills this Philistine? David is given the answer. But Eliab is a soldier. He's a trained soldier in the army of Israel. He's one of those 40,000 soldiers who are afraid of Goliath the Philistine. They've been afraid. They've been cowering. None of them has had the courage to imagine, to think that they can win and beat Goliath. Remember from where we started yesterday in the part 1 of the series, Imagine It. God made it clear in Genesis 11 verse 6 that whatever you can imagine to accomplish, you will be able to accomplish. So we come here. Eliab is full of fear like the other Israelites. He's full of fear. Well, they're going to Genesis 11 verse 6 I was showing you just now, where God was speaking I'll just read for you, just 11 verse 6. And the Lord said, behold, they are one people, and they have all one language. And this is only the beginning of what they will do. And now nothing they have imagined they can do will be impossible for them. So God makes it clear what you imagine. Let's go back to Genesis 11, to 1 Samuel 17, verse 28, where we were. Now, 1 Samuel 17, verse 20. Now, Eliab, his eldest brother, heard what he said to the men. And Eliab's anger was kindled against David. And he said, why did you come here? With whom have you left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know your presumption and the evilness of what? For you came down that you might see the battle. Let's pause here for a moment. Eliab is David's elder brother. He's a trained soldier. He's also one of the people who are afraid, who are terrified of Goliath. They can't stand up to fight Goliath. He can't imagine defeating Goliath. Eliab is full of fear. But can you see what happens when someone is full of fear? They can't imagine victory. When someone is full of fear, they are stressed. When someone is full of fear, they are easily angered. They become angry. David is not angry. Eliab is angry. Unholy anger. And notice here, he starts belittling David. He starts speaking. He says, David, you're only looking after a few of your father's sheep in the wilderness. Whoa, David was looking after his father's sheep, yes. In the wilderness, yes. So Eliab, who is afraid of Goliath, is speaking bad to David. Eliab, because of fear, he cannot imagine what is good. Many people, if they're given a diagnosis by the doctor, which shows that they got a disease or a tumor or whatever else, many, or told you got a few weeks to live, a few months to live, many become afraid. No! Don't be limited. Don't allow fear to get into you. You declare, I shall live and not die. You imagine that you're going to be well. You imagine you're going to recover. Even if all the science and all the tests the doctors have done say you're supposed to die in a week. You say, I shall live and not. Imagine yourself healthy. Imagine yourself healed. Imagine it. Imagine it. Maybe you're broke right now. Imagine making progress. Imagine becoming wealthy. Imagine becoming prosperous. But we see again in 1 Samuel 7, verse 20, we see again here, David faces opposition. Where? From his own brother, his own blood brother. My brothers and sisters, when you imagine it, when you imagine good things, when you imagine your progress, you imagine your prosperity, you can get opposition even from family members, even from those that are close to you. This is his older brother opposing him. Opposing him. Why? Because older brother is driven by anger and which is from fear of Goliath. He even says, David, you got an evil heart. He says, you got an evil heart. He says, you came down to see the battle. Can you imagine? Eliab says, my brother David, you came to see the battle. But there's no battle because Eliab is soldiers. They're all afraid of Goliath. Goliath is challenging. They say, guys, you are soldiers. Come and fight me. They are afraid. So there is no battle. It's fear headquarters. There were 40,000 Israeli soldiers there. They are full of fear. Full of fear. They cannot imagine victory over Goliath. And in that process, David pitches up. Wow. David pitches up. Look at how his brother even believes us. You're just looking after the sheep in the wilderness. What you're doing is nothing. Let's go to the next verse 29. And David said, what have I done now? Was it not a harmless question? Hallelujah. Can you see? David stays in calm. And David says, what have I done now? He can't figure out what he's done wrong. Did I not ask a harmless question? All I did was to ask a question. You see, people who don't imagine a glorious future, people don't imagine a prosperous future, people cannot imagine that there's a way to find a solution to the challenges altogether. There are people who can bring you down. They can upset you. Don't go to their standard. Don't go to their standard. They go to verse 30. And David turned away from Eliab to another. So he went to another soldier. And he asked the same question. And again, the man gave him the same answer. What answer? That none of them can defeat Goliath. None of them can defeat Goliath. And David is not capable of fighting. They say, you're not capable. You are worthless. You have no power. They can't imagine victory. We'll continue tomorrow. Hallelujah. Imagine it. Don't stop your imagination. Imagine it. As in an Oscar assembly, can you imagine that by the grace of God, as we go into the next month, by the grace of God, we'll put on proper new premises. Can you imagine it? That God can do that miracle for us. for the head office. That is, for other projects, for the head office. We thank God for the projects given us other branches. But for the head office, Oscar Assembly, can you imagine, by the grace of God, us being on our own massive estate, where Jesus will be glorified mightily? Can you imagine it? And you being a part of it and financing the kingdom. Imagine it. Thank you for watching. God bless you.